when we were teaching science, one of the things we used to do was to say about working from first principles. Because if you actually understood how something came about, you got more chance of actually going back and being able to rework it than if you'd learnt something by rote and you'd forgotten the rhyme that told you how to do long division or something, you know. But if you actually understood the principles behind it, then sometimes it stuck in the mind a bit better. And that's what we're going to have a go at doing today. You say, why do we have rules? Well, from the picture there, we certainly need some rules. And the only person that's not smiling, obviously the boat owner. Okay. Now, three things mainly involved when you're out racing: the strategy, the tactics, and the technique. The strategy is probably about your weather systems, and we're talking about you're going to get a sea breeze tomorrow. And your techniques about improving your performance in doing or not doing something correctly. And that was probably from the Olympics in Qingdao, when they had the demolition derby for the final of the 49ers. And did it go on its own? Okay. And the tactics is really the one that, that's the one that's actually based on the rules. It's all to do with manoeuvrability. The more manoeuvrable the boat is, you become the keep clear boat. And I'll explain it in a minute so you can see in a bit more detail. And shall keep clear. And the less manoeuvrable boat shall give room. So those are the two basic principles from it. But how did those come about? Well, here, who is the one that's most likely to be able to see what's going on and be able to keep clear? The windward boat, okay? And here, which one is going to be the most manoeuvrable boat and easier to keep clear? The one behind. So there you've dealt already with rules 11 and 12. Okay? Now I think before, when we were talking about the rules, did I take your rule book?
It was actually my rule book you used last time we met, yes.
Do you want to do it again? No. You're running out of rule book. Because, see, I've got my rule book here. And the RYA don't give them away anymore, so I'm not going to do what I did. I think we started at the back and said, do you use the flags? And you said no, so I just ripped them out and threw them on the floor. And we carried on all the way through it. And we didn't actually stop tearing things out. You know, race organisation, well, that's somebody else does that, and sailing instructions does that. And we didn't stop tearing things out until we got to a section that was called, can you remember? When boats meet. And because of me tearing things out, the RYA decided to colour those pages that were left blue.
I think that's a great idea.
What, tearing them out?
No, colouring in the blue.
Yeah, because that's all you need. And there's what, 11 rules there? And that's all you need. And that's what we're really going to look at. And we've already touched on 2 of them. And then sometimes there are words in that bit which we need to share a definition of. So, funny enough, there's 3 pages, or 4 now, called definitions. So that, and these bits only explain what's going on in this one here. So it's all quite easy. And there's an app too that's even better that explains it. From the RYA at a small price. So now, how about port and starboard? Rule 10. How do you think that may have come about? Who gives way?
How did it come about?
No, well, how did it derive?
There was a necessity for somebody to give way.
Well, yes, but why? Now, we talked about the boat that's more manoeuvrable.
I think I don't know why it turned out to be starboard.
I'm going to try and explain. started.
The lights. Yeah.
The colour of the
Lights.
lights.
Yeah. So if you've got a red light in front of you.
I think they may have had candles in Vikings time. Okay, well let's have a look and see. That give you a clue. Where's the rudder?
No, of course it was the starboard.
Oh, that's a star.
Where's the rudder? It's on one side. It's not on the back. Now, this is an old Viking ship or something, but it was the Dutch that started racing, with barges. But they had the rudder on the side as well.
Yes.
Okay? And we can probably whisper. And starboard and port, but they had different names from it. And if you meet a Dutch sailor, or you have one in the protest room, and you say, well, I was on starboard, and he'll say, no, I was on starboard. Because the translation for port in Dutch is starboard. They've reversed it. But once you actually know that, it's one part of Germany too where they do that. Once you know that, you say, no, what you actually mean is in the English term, that you're actually on port.
Do they still try and use that then?
No, the sailors we normally meet at big championships and things like that, no problem at all, because English is fine. But if they've only been sailing at their local club, then they may not have picked this up.
Yeah, okay.
So when the boat's upright, okay, the wind comes, so that would be port tack if the wind's that way. So when the boat heels on starboard, look what happens to the rudder.
Loses bite.
Okay? And the boat on port tack, so which one is the more manoeuvrable? Port tack boat. Hence, port tack is the keep clear boat. Okay? So there's something you probably won't forget, but that will actually help you remember how it came about. Okay? So starboard, so port tack was keep clear because it's more steerable, whereas on starboard tack, you were the right of way. Are you always the right of way?
Yes.
No. We'll come to that in a minute. Okay, so 2960 is going to have to do something, but at least they're looking. So we've got a nice little model here. And what we're going to do is fit the rules into this little model. And everything is about patterns. So, what rule is that, do you think? Port and starboard, and it's rule 10, okay? This one we've touched on already. Yeah, the windward leeward, rule 11, and these are the keep clear ones, where the port boat must keep clear. And that one, 12, and that one, okay, it's got you thinking a bit more. It's tacking. When you are tacking, you are automatically the rules turn off. You're the keep clear boat. When do you start to tack? Absolutely right. It's not when you shout Leo and put the helm down. It's when you go beyond past head to wind. Until yeah, what they say is you're sailing the compass course. Years ago, we used to say about sails full, but you don't actually have to shoot your sails in. So it's down to a compass course, actually. That's when you complete the tack, and then you're on that tack. Okay? So that's 13, is that. So that completes the keep clear. 14, do you know that one? Yeah, don't hit anybody. I think when I started racing, the harder you could hit somebody, the more chance you had to get them disqualified. And if you went to a protest committee, did he hit them? No. Well, let's go away. But of course, the insurance companies didn't like that. So the whole point of the racing rules are, in fact, to keep boats apart, not to have them doing things like that. So now, limitations. There are 3 rules where you may think you're the right-of-way boat, but you're limited in what you can do. Okay? So we'll go through the 3 of those. And we might probably have a look at those with the models in a minute too. Okay, that one is 15. That means that after you complete your tack, the keep clear boat doesn't even have to think about changing course or taking avoiding action until you have completed your tack. So in that position, the blue boat doesn't, 15 is a bit like a traffic light for the yellow boat. Okay, it doesn't go green as I complete my tack. It goes to amber before going to green. How long? Depends on the kind of boat. Optimists, half a second, because they respond so quickly. 30, 40 footers, it's going to take you a bit longer, obviously. So the rule says that you don't even have to think about changing your course until the guy has completed his tack. So there's a slight thinking time. You can't get redressed for being a slow thinker.
That's unfortunate. In my case. Did you see the Sail GP stuff the week or so ago?
No, I didn't. I saw the Bermuda one. I didn't see the other one.
Yeah, so where the 2 collided and Jimmy Spithill got penalised under Rule 14, I think, actually.
40, okay.
One of them tapped underneath
Yeah.
and then collided.
The problem with that type of racing and the America's Cup is they get permission to change the rules.
Right.
Because they're doing stadium racing, they can call for room to tack and a lot of things like that. And as they approach the zone, the rules have been altered slightly. So you can't always go. For the majority, no problem at all. But there's some odd little bits that have been changed. And so you just need to be careful. We don't do stadium racing out there. Well, unless you're up against Meehan Beach or something else.
Sorry, excuse me, in 15, does the expression room and opportunity occur?
In some extent, yes, opportunity certainly, that you have to have the opportunity to be able to keep clear. So it's the favourite thing going into a mark. You hold the guy on and on and on, so you can tack off, okay? So, but if you come up too far, maybe you can get his tack in. And it's the question then, somewhere in then, 15 comes in to stop you doing, this guy doing something that you just can't keep clear of.
But, if you're tacking onto starboard,
Yeah.
and you've got a boat on the same tack and parallel to windward of you, obviously you can't just say, well, I'm going to be on starboard, so therefore he's got to get out of my way.
I've been in races where people are called starboard before they've even tacked.
Yeah.
I'm tacking. Well, tough. In this position you cannot tack.
Yeah.
You can be held on, even though he's tacking from port to starboard.
Yeah.
So if he's there, 1, 2, 3, okay, you've got to go. Or dip. Okay? But that's that rule 15, which is like putting a traffic light on the guy to give the other person a chance to keep clear. The next one, probably guess the number. Yeah. So if you're on starboard and you get a wind shift, maybe, and there's a boat crossing you, you can't. You must hold your course. You can't suddenly luff up. Oh, I got a new wind. If it prevents him from keeping clear. So in this case, it may have been that blue was passing clear ahead of yellow without any problem, and then yellow suddenly changed course and put blue in trouble. Okay? In that case, it would be yellow that gets penalised under this rule 16. Again, time and opportunity to actually keep clear. Right? There's two parts of 16, but that's just mainly, that's the important bit, about if you are the right-of-way boat, you expect it to hold your course and not suddenly change. Okay? That's 16. And this one, 17. Do you know that one? It's a bit more complex because it's to do with luffing. Whereas before, you know, boat comes up to weather of you, you know, you can luff. Okay? But if he comes, if the boat, you come up behind a guy like this, within 2 boat lengths, you can't luff. You can only go up to close hauled. Sorry, you can only go up to proper course. And you're saying, what is proper course? Well, so let's say we've got the wind coming from the side. Okay, so the wind's coming this way. So yellow comes in here and establishes an overlap. Does pink have to keep clear? Well, is the windward boat, and windward boats always have to keep clear. Okay, but yellow isn't allowed to go above her proper course. But pink may think the course is different, particularly if one's asymmetric and the other's symmetric. Okay, then there could be a difference of opinion. And if there is a difference of opinion, the windward boat must keep clear. Now, if pink thinks yellow is going up above proper course, her only action is to keep clear and protest yellow. If you don't, there's a possibility both of you may be disqualified. And that does happen. Where this guy is saying, no way, and sails down on this guy. And the jury decide that yellow was above proper course, but pink didn't keep clear. So both of them get disqualified.
If you're on proper course and yellow sails into what I call your pocket, sails into my pocket,
Yep.
yeah, and then tries to luff me, I'll tell it to bugger off.
Well,
You still have to keep clear.
yeah, you still must keep clear and protest.
Yeah.
So you can't get involved. You can tell him you're above proper course. You can exchange language as much as you wish, as long as it's not too many 4-letter words. But in that case, it's because the overlap was established, and the overlap is that line there.
Yes.
Okay, and it was established within 2 boat lengths. If he's out here, outside of 2 boat lengths, and he sails in, now he can luff up towards head to wind, but not beyond it. And this boat must keep clear. But you must give the guy time and opportunity to actually keep clear. So you can't just suddenly luff up, but you can take him gradually right the way up. And then watch all the other boats sail past you down to Lewis.
There is no proper course.
No proper course before the start. Rule 17, which is this rule here, does apply after the start. So if that overlap was gained before the start, you came in underneath the guy, all right? And now you start, you can't go above proper course. Because it happened, that's how the overlap was established, and a little time memory stamp goes on it, so that you've got that label now that you must keep clear. Okay? So that's 17, and that was put in instead of this master beam rule that was in the 60s and 70s. So there was none of that. Yeah. But what happened is that people that called master beam didn't realise that in a protest hearing they had to prove it. And how do you prove it? One word against the other. And so you can't actually prove it. So it wasn't a very good rule. So this is where this rule 17 came in. So those are the main rules that you need to know around the course. Going around marks is a wee bit different. So those are the ones where you've got to give room. So you mustn't, do more than you should do in those cases. Here, approaching a mark, it's rule 18. It's quite a lengthy rule, and it's got lots of bits and pieces to it. And it's about giving mark room. And there's a whole lot of things there that You won't be able to read, but we can talk about them, about whether you have to jibe at the mark. But we'll do that on the floor in a few minutes, okay? And then after that, there's been a slight 19. Oh, that's about obstructions, okay? If you're approaching an obstruction and have to take a major alteration, okay, you might be able to call for room on someone to tack because of that. And a right-of-way boat is an obstruction. A keep clear boat is never an obstruction. Okay? And 20, calling for room to tack, approaching the shore, etc. And 43 now, outside part 2, is the exoneration rule. What they did was there were 2 rules governing exoneration, 43 and 60 something, and what they've done is combined them now into 43, which has meant basically, 43 is an excused. You're excused if you had to break a rule because of another boat that was required to keep clear and broke a rule. And the sailing backwards, restarting, doing penalties, avoiding capsized boats if possible, and if possible, avoid boats not racing that are doing a penalty or on another leg. Okay, that's not quite clear. If reasonably possible, shall avoid boats not racing, boats doing a penalty, and boats on another leg of the course. But those are only if reasonably possible. They've been renumbered because Rule 21 used to be the exoneration rule, so they've just renumbered them. But we can forget the if reasonably possible, because you can always say it wasn't, I suppose. And then we're just back to that. So that's just a nice little model of how the Part 2 rules fit together. But the 2 main groups are the keep clear and the limitations. Okay? So you think you're in charge, you're right away, but you may actually not be. So that's finished that bit. Now, what we can do now is there anything you particularly like me to actually go through?
Yes, it's when you're going around the park, we've raced in one design fleets, and a woman said to me once, why do you all go around the marks at the same time? I said, well, actually we are trying to get a bit further away from those, but that's what happens. So and it's within that 2-boat length zone. Sorry, 3 boat.
You're showing your age, don't worry. So have you got a particular situation you want to come and put the boats on the floor in? Because I've got a nice mark or 2 here for you.
I suppose it's you're coming in, as I understand it, is that the port and starboard limiter, whoever's on the inside is the right-of-way boat.
Okay, so I think we're probably talking at something like a gate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, we're probably looking at the starboard one, the starboard rounding. And what you've got is a boat coming in, the pink boat, number 4 here. Got to be very careful with mine, dismast them if I pull on the mast. Okay, coming in on port, and we can take the yellow one again. Coming in on starboard. Okay, so we've got 3 boat length zone. So when they came in, to the mark,
That's what we need on the racetrack. A 3-boat length, yeah. Stick. Absolutely, especially with RAA sticker on it.
okay, so you can see, where's the overlap?
He's inside over.
Is inside overlapped, because you can see anything out that way, as far as Southampton, has got an overlap on this guy. Can they get there in time is another matter. But if they do, this guy is the one that must keep clear, although he's on starboard. Okay? He is the right-of-way boat, because he's on starboard, but required to give room.
When does that obligation of his to give room begin?
It ends when you've cleared the mark.
Cleared the mark.
And that's clear now in the new rules, because it wasn't so clear.
This is the single biggest set of rule debates we have in the J70 fleet.
Okay, because when does it actually come in? Well, when the first boat enters the zone. So when he comes into the zone, has he got...
Has this guy got an overlap or not?
is he overlapped on...
That's a really pedantic question. Is it when he's actually in the three boat zone?
No, when the bow. When the bow enters the three boat.
Is it when he thinks he's in the zone, or when he's actually
No.
in the zone?
It's when it's actual. You get a tape measure out and you measure it just to check. And what you'll find is this guy will be shouting from 20 lengths and this guy will start shouting at 1 length saying no overlap or something. Okay? So, but it is 3. And what we do in a protest hearing is we put the boats out like that and say, okay, keep moving 1 boat length at a time. And then until... See.
If you're hearing a protest about in that situation, and he says, I had an overlap, and he says, you didn't. Because we tend to find, on the few occasions we're involved in protest, there are very few witnesses around. How does that then, how does the protest committee start to establish, because he will always say that he didn't have an overlap, he will always say he did. It's just, so how should we think about that when we're at the race course? Who is going to win that program?
We've got a very nice part of the rule. Just got to actually find it. But what it actually says that if there is any doubt, it didn't happen. So if they would go back to a bit where there was no overlap, and the guy said, I established an overlap, and there's doubt, it didn't happen. If this guy has done something to try and break the overlap, and he claims he did, and the other one says he didn't, then again, it didn't happen. Okay?
But would that then require in a protest situation
yeah, probably, yeah.
So if he says he's got an overlap and he says you haven't, he wins the protest. The yellow boat wins the protest. Yeah?
Basically, well, in a case like this, it's quite simple.
Yeah.
Had it been more sort of like that, then it isn't quite so simple. If I take this boat back a bit.
But in the protest room, 8 will be saying that 4 didn't have an overlap, or you wouldn't have got that, or you wouldn't have got to the protest room.
Yeah. Well, we've got to consider what is the most likely.
Yeah.
And it depends on the questions, how you answer questions and things. That would decide how it goes.
My question would be, was what happened when you got to the mark? And if somebody says, well, we were streets ahead, and somebody, then it suggests to me probably the pink boat wasn't.
Well,
if
okay.
they both in agreement that they damn nearly had a collision
Yeah.
at the mark,
Well,
there's a very good suggestion that they probably...
so here's a situation where they probably would be claiming, because it's doubtful as to whether there's an overlap. What's the safest thing for yellow to do? Give room and protest.
But I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that.
It's much more likely to happen where that's a symmetrical boat and this is an asymmetrical boat.
Yeah, indeed. Yes, because he's dead running. Okay? If he's actually on the same jibe, okay, who is the keep clear boat? No. Which is the windward boat? Pink.
Yeah, he's got the rights on yellow.
Pink is the windward boat. Rule 12 must keep clear. However, if yellow is like that and pink is not overlapped, yellow is the pink has to give yellow room if they're not overlapped.
If they are overlapped, yellow's got to keep
If they are overlapped, if they are like that, then yellow must give pink room.
Yes, sorry.
Okay?
It's just that instantaneous measurement as the first boat enters the 3 length zone.
Yeah, indeed.
The only moment that counts.
Yeah, that's when it is.
And
And
you're
it
overlapped or you're not.
and it's the length of the first boat
Yes, first boat.
to enter the zone, because you've got different length boats in most of your IOR racing.
Discussion with Desperado over half a pint of beer, and I'm surprised that
Oh, I know. I've met Desperado. I've met Desperado.
because it was a 3 boat length, it was back boat.
In the
At the moment.
70s, as you're coming down, if you're coming down the run, you're coming towards the right hand. If you're going right at the gate, you're quite often trying to keep the whole game outside the 3 length zone.
Yeah, yeah. I've now found it because just staring at it and not reading it. If there is reasonable doubt that a boat obtained or broke an overlap in time, it shall be presumed she did not.
Did you say that again?
Okay? If there is reasonable doubt that a boat obtained or broke an overlap in time, it shall be presumed she did not. So if it's doubtful that you've either broken it or gained it, then you are the one that's most at risk.
You're struggling.
So you're saying, so once you enter the 3 boat lengths, you could potentially clear yourself of the problem if you were fast enough.
Yeah, well, there are ways.
Break the
But once you break,
Well,
if you break the overlaps in the zone, that doesn't count. does it?
no, not inside. But as you enter the zone,
it's still got to
what?
but if you're fast
How can yellow break the overlap? So it's just about to enter the zone,
Put his bag up. Yeah.
okay, and does that
That's,
and breaks the overlap.
yeah.
But then he's got to have a witness here or there to be able to prove that he did do it.
I'm sure there'll be somebody honest on pink.
No, but it may be a fish here, no other boat.
I'm sure there'll be somebody honest on pink.
Oh, right. Yeah, don't go that way. Yeah.
Chris, I think what actually happens, I'm sure everybody knows, what actually happens is that somebody calls back and says you have no overlap. And we're saying, well, no way are we 3 boat. But in the end, they decide, because they've called and asked you to get out, you've got to do it.
Okay.
And we've had this.
Well,
I've
yeah.
been in protests either way, where we've protested, so
Yeah.
we've won,
Yeah.
or we've been protested and lost.
Yeah.
And I know they called, they looked at us, we were coming up much quicker, and they said, oh,
Wow.
call now, say that we haven't established
Yeah,
that.
it becomes like it becomes like any legal case, you know. The guilty doesn't always get convicted, and you know it depends on how you present the case and the evidence you've got.
Yes, we presented it saying, how could you have done it? Because we actually overtook you and round ahead of you. In 3 votes.
It also depends on the quality of the protest committee, and which is why I became a judge, having in Sigma's met some very extraordinary decisions. So I thought, well, maybe we can do something about it.
33s or 38s?
Sorry?
33s?
No, 33s. We won the championship once, and we were second and third several times with it.
Which boat were you?
There's a boat called Brightwork. There were several boats called Brightwork, and Graham Fairhall and I, we won the Albacore Nationals together. Then he asked me when he got the Sigma to sail with him in that, and we shared the helm and everything. Unfortunately, he died earlier this year. It was a great loss. But and then we had a Dale of 34. So we used to win the Wars Ash Series and the Hamble River Series as well with the Dale of 34. So that was good sailing. So I enjoyed the big boat sailing. But getting a crew together was a nightmare. Okay, so that's that. If we just swap the mark over, because certainly starboard hand marks are bad news, particularly when going to windward. Let's just...
Would it be fair to say, I'm sure we'll get through it in more detail, but would it be fair to say that if you're going right round the mark, it's completely different to going left?
Yeah, it is. And you know, if you get any say in it, the windward mark should always be port-handed.
Yeah.
Now, starboard-handed marks, windward ones, are ones where lots of rules apply, and it gets very confusing. And that's why for team racing and match racing, they have starboard hand rules
Right.
to create situations. But for most of our racing, we don't want that.
I
Okay. Pink on port, coming into a windward mark, okay? Yellow on starboard, coming in to the mark, and the course is to round it and come back this way, okay? Who's the keep clear boat? Pink on port tack. So if we get to this situation, pink is in real trouble, okay? Now, let's just add a little bit here. Current, okay? Current flowing that way. Yellow, who was laying the mark, either didn't notice or didn't see the current. So pink is still coming in. Yellow is coming in shouting starboard, but has overlaid the mark and is reaching in like this. Pink, being quite certain, projected course, he's cleared yellow. Coming round the mark, yellow now heads up. What do you think of that one?
I think yellow's a bit of a chancer there. Yellow's right away boat altering course.
Yellow, right away boat altering course, yes. So the rule is it's 10 because port and starboard applies, but 16 also applies because he changed course. At this point, pink was going ahead, but when he did that, there was no trouble. That was trouble. Okay?
And pink isn't required to take account of it until he's changed course.
Well, he was keeping clear until yellow put him back into trouble by altering course. So rule 16 is supposed to stop that from happening.
And pink doesn't have to anticipate that yellow will change course to go around.
No. He should be anticipating that yellow will hold his course. He doesn't get the rights to actually, to do that. What actually happened was that pink gave yellow enough room because the current was taking them both that way. So yellow got round in between, having screamed and shouted like mad. I was the pink boat 2 weekends ago. And he was still insistent that he didn't alter course. But it was the current he hadn't allowed for, because he came off the bank here and he came out into the stronger tide and he was just being swept that way very quickly.
Can we do the port and starboard when we are coming into the mark? So we've got a whole, we again tend to have, we've got a whole raft of boats coming in on the starboard lay line, whole line boats coming on the starboard lay line. You've got the ones who are taking a chance coming in on port, and it's again, and then trying to exactly.
A few models in my place.
Trying to find the gap. Okay. So you've got standard RYA wind coming straight down that way.
Yeah, straight down this way, okay?
So you've got you've got your starboard lay line crowd coming in here.
Yeah, and you want to...
And then you've got, hopefully not us, coming in here.
Okay.
Discuss.
Right, what do you think you should do?
Well, what folks do, let's make it a bit more realistic. There's a few gaps.
You dismasted him, yeah.
There's a few. What we're doing coming in on one is we're trying to find the gap.
Yep.
There's these guys here. There's these guys. There's a little gap here, let's say, and then there's another boat somewhere here. So we're going for this gap here. So
Okay.
we're very away. So we say, right, there's a gap behind these guys. We're going to go in there. But we're going to try and get a tack in there. And we're going to try and go around.
Okay. So this is inside the 3 boat length zone,
Yes.
because that makes a difference.
Yes. Can we do it both in and out?
Yeah, in and out. Although here, to begin with, if you've got that gap there, it's probably more to do with, it will apply to both.
Yeah.
Here, as you're coming in, 18.3 does apply. So that means as soon as you do tack and complete your tack, okay, if you cause this boat to go above close hauled,
Yeah.
if it's reaching, it doesn't apply.
Yeah.
It's got to be above close hauled. Then you've broken rule 18.3.
And that's inside the 3 lane
That's
zone.
inside the zone.
Right.
If, on the other hand, you complete your tack, or you're completing your tack like that, and you complete it, okay, then he goes above. If you haven't completed it, it's rule 13. If you haven't finished your tack, you haven't got past head to wind,
Then you're on port tack still.
you're on port tack.
Yeah.
So although you've luffed, you're still on port tack until after you've gone past head to wind and then tacking. So it's like 10 applies, then as soon as 10 doesn't apply, 13 is applying because you're attacking.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you've actually completed your tack, it's 18.3. The rule was changed also so that if there were a host of other boats and you did complete your tack in here, okay, and in order, because of that, maybe it was pink out here that had to go above close hauled to avoid it, then you're still at fault, even though there are other boats that did not have to go above close hauled. It probably wouldn't happen very often, but you know.
This is a
But Pink's problem is trying to work out who caused the problem.
these are some of the biggest decisions that we face in the big J70 fleets.
Well, coming in
How
on
we can get in that.
yeah, coming in on port is always difficult. I notice the RYA squads are taught to tack just below and complete their tack just below the lay line,
Right.
okay? And then try and luff up around the mark, hoping that they don't actually push this boat above close hauled.
Right. But if you're trying to shoot the mark and that guy goes and
If this guy goes above close hauled,
goes above close
you're in
hauled, then
trouble.
you have
You're in trouble.
There's a very important thing that happens though in our water, and that's this. If you know,
depends on what the currents are doing.
if you know the tide is doing that, then the chances are you've got room.
Yeah,
But if the tide's doing that,
you're in trouble.
you're stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. In which case you've got to jibe round again.
Yeah. But how? There used to be a thing called, which I think they've got rid of now. There used to be a thing called slam dunk,
Oh, okay.
tacking right underneath somebody's bow
Yeah, yeah.
and doing that to them,
Leave attack.
Well, as long as you've
and then doing that, and
okay, but you've got to give this guy opportunity to keep clear.
yeah.
So if in completing your tack you do that,
So I'm asking is how close are you allowed to do that?
okay,
You know, I've had people come
right,
right at me where I've had to
Okay.
knock the boat to windward,
Okay.
too close to head to wind.
okay. Well then, if it's near a mark, this 18.3 will apply.
Okay.
So
you can do it, but without, just don't be daft about it.
Yeah, and you keep clear. There's a definition of keep clear on that first bit of blue, and it's about having enough wriggle room, so that if the keep clear boat, if the offending boat, which is this one here, didn't give this person the opportunity of keeping clear in either way, in either direction, okay, then he's not keeping clear. I'll just read it to you because the rule is a bit clearer on it. When boats are overlapped, the right-of-way boat can also change course in both directions without immediately making contact. Okay? So the right-of-way boat must be able to alter course in either direction without making immediate contact. And that's the definition of keep clear. Okay?
So if to cycle back again a minute, this is one of the biggest decisions that we generally face in the big J70 fleets. When you're coming in on port, some way down a huge group who are coming in on starboard. Because if you hit the starboard lay line too early,
yeah, you're in dirty wind, or you've got to overstand by miles.
horrible place.
Yeah.
So we almost always come in 10, 15 lengths below the mark on port. That's our standard
Yeah.
top mark approach. And then you've got a very difficult decision to make. So in a protest, so we're the folks coming in on port in this boat, and we think we've completed our tack, and we think we're okay, and we think he hasn't gone beyond head to wind.
Yep.
how does that then play out with a protest jury? So we're now in the protest room saying, right,
Okay.
there was a gap, we tacked in it, we completed our tack, and you did not have to go beyond head to wind. He, by this time, because we're in a protest room,
Okay.
will be saying, yes, I did
So-
have to go beyond head to wind.
So if
How does that go?
if I'm sitting in this boat here, and your boat,
Yeah.
okay, and I'm giving evidence, I say I completed my tack to leeward of him, and there was enough room for him to be alter course in either direction. And looking up, I could see his telltales quite clearly, and at no time did any of them lift. The main jib did not backwind at all.
Didn't back up.
If he's saying he bore away, then he had originally been above close hauled,
Right. Okay, yeah.
and he did not go above close hauled.
Yeah.
And that's reasonably compelling evidence.
Yeah.
So, because I saw it, it's there. You shouldn't be making it up. But what you're actually doing is look and get someone to check to see whether it's going to be close. Check, watch his jib.
Yeah.
Does it backwind?
Yeah.
Is it sheeted in? Okay.
Okay. No, that's very useful. Thank you.
We're right on the agreed time limit,
No, that's
but I'm very happy to keep going if you've got other things you want to talk about.
Just one question on the starboard windward mark. Is there anything else that we should sort of be super sensitive about?
On the starboard
Because
one.
we do out here, as you know, we quite forget right turn the windward mark because of the tide and then someone's trying to. But I just always feel as soon as it's a right turn windward mark, I just kind of resign myself to just trying to keep out of the way of everything because I have no idea what right and wrong is.
Okay. Does overlaps, do they occur or do they matter here? They're inside the zone.
On opposite tack.
Is yellow... I was going to ask you, is yellow overlapped on green? And the answer is no, because they're on opposite tacks, just as you said. So that rule doesn't apply. What rule is applying here? Port and starboard. From 4 years ago, 18.3 does not apply on a starboard rounding mark. So your green's only option is to tack off.
Right. So effectively, you behave as if the mark wasn't there.
Yeah, absolutely. You can take the mark away. If yellow now tacks here, onto port, and green is tacked and is behind, or if they come in like this, then overlap does matter. If they're like that, yellow will have to give green room. If they're like this, it's quite interesting because yellow doesn't have to give room. Green is the keep clear boat as they're astern. If yellow tacks and goes beyond close hauled, he has lost, because he's now tacking, he's lost his rights, and green is within her rights.
So to be very careful about how you do your mark ranking so that you can't, so that so that as you, when you come up onto the wind and start to tack as a, you've got to get round his back.
Yeah. Well,
So I'm
if green comes round and gets in between you and the mark,
near back.
he's the keep clear boat as soon as you finish your tack. How can yellow do it without having a problem? Well, sneak's not a bad word, actually. What he does is he luffs.
Yeah.
And he luffs up, but not beyond head to wind. There is no room for green to get in here, so green has to duck behind. And as soon as green ducks behind, yellow can complete a tack.
In the meantime, you throw away all the time on the boats in front.
Okay?
So there's one design, but certainly on a handicap fleet, a lot of these things are about not getting too greedy. Like Paul was saying, coming in on, you've got a big starboard layline, and you're coming in on port, and you know from your past couple of tacks back that if you can get in there somewhere, you are doing better than you were two tacks behind.
Yeah, there is,
And
yeah.
the thing is not to get too greedy. Find a nice space, but don't try and take them all.
And it was the same as that one at the leeward mark. Okay, you let the guy in, despite the fact you say he hasn't got an overlap, and you protest him. You don't win the protest, you're still okay.
Yeah.
But if you do something silly, you get disqualified. Which is, it's better to lose just one place and try and protest to see if you can get it back again.
Very few people do that, though, certainly in our fleet. The amount
No,
of
well-
one mark, and the guy who's the outside boat will, the guy who's the inside boat, who in a protest has got to prove that he had the overlap,
Yeah.
will always go in there.
Yeah,
I've almost never seen them going behind you.
no.
I've never seen them luffing going the wrong side.
Maybe you're not frightening enough. Maybe you want to stand up. And
Mostly they're Turkish, Russian, or American.
well, the Russians are checkbook sailors.
Do not go in there. You've got
I've done several events with the SP20s, and you're not allowed watches like these, which have got GPS. So as the jury boat gets close, you can hear the watches going in the water. And then, I said to somebody, he said, "Oh, don't worry," he said, "they've got a crate full of them in their van."
We had a fantastic conversation with some Italians who we had a couple of very bad collisions with, and we sort of got to know them quite well, and they've been disqualified in a series of two protests that we had. We ended up chatting to them, and the guy said, "Yeah, you shouldn't really take it personally. We are Italian. We don't pay our taxes. We cheat on our wives. We speed on the motorways. Why would you expect us to take the British rules?" You got a list?
Chris, can I ask to clarify
Yeah, sure.
another thing?
Yeah, sure.
I'm a symmetrical spinnaker boat,
Yep.
and we race against a lot of asymmetric boats. So you're coming, and so you're coming into. You're both got kites up, and you're coming into the mark, and you're on different jibes.
Port and starboard, okay.
Go set them up.
And one of the things that can happen is that an asymmetric boat, if it's practiced it a bit, can be on port or starboard very easily.
And they can jibe quickly, whereas you
Well,
can't.
I don't mean jibe their kites, they can goose wing their asymmetric.
Okay, right. So what are we talking about? We're coming on a run. Got the wind behind me now.
Yeah.
Better wind
Coming
shift.
in on different jibes.
Different jibes. Which way are you going round the mark? Port, starboard?
Let's just say he's coming in here, like that, and I'm coming in here
Okay.
on the opposite jibe.
Yep. So, which way are you going round the mark?
That way.
This way. You're leaving it to starboard.
Yeah.
Okay. Who is the inside boat? Yellow. Okay. Who's the right away boat? He's on starboard. Okay. Sometimes we talk about this coming in. That okay, I'm the inside boat, 1 star. Oh, he's the right away boat. He get 1 star. So okay, it's not simple. We've got to think about it. Okay. So here, because he's on port, he's the keep clear boat, but the green boat is required to give him room to round the mark. So you must go around, like that.
Okay.
So you've got to steer down to allow him to come in. Okay? If you get to the point where you think, I can make it, I'm going to cross him,
Yes.
you're chancing it.
Okay.
You get away with it.
Yes.
Sometimes you can get away with it, but you haven't got any rights to do that. And if there is a problem when he says like that, you're in dead trouble.
Okay.
Okay? Does that answer your bit?
Well, it does, but what if a person's able to do that because of the wind direction?
Okay. Well, he's
Be
go-
able to change.
Yeah, yeah.
In other words, they're sailing 180 degrees.
okay. But the decision was made. It doesn't make any difference because
It doesn't matter whether on port or starboard.
no, because he's the inside boat. So
It's
this
just the
boat
inside
is
boat.
going to always have to give him room.
Yeah.
If they're on the same jibe, this one is a keep clear again, but this one must give room.
Okay.
Okay. If we're going round the mark the other way to port, okay, if they're on the same jibe, am I keep clear? Yes, so I've got a point for that. Am I the inside boat? No stars. This one, 1 star for being the right-of-way boat, and 1 star for being 2 stars. Therefore, it's quite easy. He can actually luff this boat up to be able to go round and make a tactical rounding. Whereas if you're right against the mark, you're going to shoot past before you can round up. So he can make a tactical rounding, and this guy has got to give him the space to do it. And
So I can go up if I'm green. I'm up enough to do.
you can come out to
I
get.
don't have to be right against the mark.
No, no.
If that's not an effective
No.
jibe.
The only thing he must do, because remember he came down on the other jibe, he has to jibe at the mark. You can't go off over there and do a granny, as the New Zealanders say, or a weathering. That you have to actually jibe. Not so bad in a big boat. It's the dinghies that get a bit upset. But he must jibe.
Okay, thank you for that. Can I ask one more question?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah.
It's just clarification really that if you're going to, for instance, Cowes Green,
Oh
and
yeah.
we all go piling in there on starboard, and then of course we run out of water,
Hmm.
and there's lots of yells for water, and we all tack out.
So here's the rocks
Yeah, and all that.
and the tide current against you probably.
Yes,
And so
and you've got a whole raft of boats coming in on starboard, and you call for water,
yep, or room
yeah, or room, yeah,
to be correct.
yes,
It's only been like that 20 years.
and
There's no room to go behind him.
if
So if you call for room,
yes,
he has to tack.
yes.
He either passes it on or he's heard, and he has to tack.
Okay,
So therefore, they go around, okay, and you go around as well.
well, yeah,
Good. Maybe you make a better,
yeah,
and you're now like that, and they're not so happy. But now you've got blue.
yes.
What have you got to do now?
We've got to tap back in again. I presume you've got enough
You've got to tack back.
navigational water.
You've got to tap. Even if you go onto the rocks, you've got to tack back, and then call for room immediately.
Okay.
That's one of the.
Okay.
You know how to.
What I'm more curious about in this situation is that obviously I want to not go aground. I don't want to damage my vessel, so I want navigable water.
Mhm.
Yes. So I want to tack, but let's just say that this guy is more like this.
Okay.
Do I have a God-given right to come out on a hard beat?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Well, if you call for room, yes.
Yes. Or can he turn around and say to me, "Yeah, you've got room. Bear away and go behind me."
No.
I'm allowed to come out on a hard beat.
You're allowed to
Or-
come out. Just put it back as it was. You're allowed to come out. He has the choice of saying, you tack. He is required to say either to tack as soon as you call or say you tack. In which case, if you tack, he's going to keep clear of you by maybe dipping you
Okay.
as you're tacking. So the rule actually says he has to do one or two things or he breaks the rule. One of them, straight after you've called for room to tack, he must either tack himself or reply you tack and keep clear of you.
Okay. So I'm allowed on port. I am allowed to beat hard to windward.
Oh yes, absolutely.
You
Yeah,
can
you,
go anywhere you want on
you
board,
can.
can't
Chris, if the boat isn't far enough away that you can complete and go back again, you have to do that.
That's what we're going to show here. Yeah.
Because you've got depth. Yes.
Just because you shout.
Yeah. Stephen is another international judge. Yes, if he comes out to the point here, It's if you can tack and then have got room to go back, this guy has got the priority on starboard. Okay, then you have to go back again, which I think we said.
So the guy coming out from the beach on port, if there's room, is not required to go round the transom of that starboard boat.
No, to start with, he starts off on close hauled, okay? When he's been on that tack for, you know, the Rule 15 type bit, for a certain amount of time, he may be required to go straight back onto starboard, onto port, to go back in against the shore. You know how to actually avoid all this trouble, do you?
Don't go down the beach.
No, because then you're swept back by the time.
Tack very slowly.
No, you get a good start.
Yeah.
Then you'll cross them all. And I did that with the squibs during the 100 boats.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah, yes, I managed to get right against the buoy and tack out. But we weren't going very well to windward, and I lost a lot further down. Okay, yeah.
Just a question about starboard port rounding, tacking in the zone. Is that basically just a really bad idea?
No, not if you're leading.
Yeah. But not so Tony's around.
Okay, but quite often, you'll find there's a big gap. You know, you may be able to come in on port and find a gap. Sometimes when you've got that mass, Matt, then it does get difficult.
It's normally very safe if you're further back from fifth.
I was really trying to just understand the difference between tacking inside the zone or tacking outside the zone, and how much is it a lot smarter to hit the starboard lay line outside the zone that you attack before you hit the zone, or because I basically don't understand what.
That's tax.
Well, yeah, but so just what are the extra obligations on you if you're doing your tack inside the zone?
You must of course a boat that's already on attack and stars above a coastal course.
Which,
So that's the reason I said it's safe coming in. First, second is a safe attack. After fifth is normal attack, safe because people stack up on the lay line and you can tack in underneath and they don't have to stay above.
So if I'm coming in on port and I'm outside the zone,
It's safe.
and I complete my tack, and the guy I tacked just in front of says I had to go above head to wind, you say that's then
close
above-
haul.
above
Close haul.
What happens then?
well, you're either going to agree with him and take your penalty,
Yeah.
or you're going to maybe end up in the protest room.
So the fact that you're in or outside the zone doesn't actually matter at that point.
Well, no, if you're both coming on to start and you're outside the zone, it's just you take the windward mark away.
Yeah. Yeah. So you effectively pulled off a lee back.
Yeah,
attack,
it's your slam dunk,
which was too-
but if your slam dunk doesn't work,
Yeah.
you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And that comes back to what we're saying about, keeping clear.
So and sorry, just to be pedantic, is that any different if the situation's inside the zone to if the situation's outside the zone?
Well, his point, 18.3 only applies inside the zone. This bit about forcing a boat above close hauled.
Okay, so
Okay, because the other guy coming inside the zone, if he tacks, they're both sailing along, but because of the starboard boat's higher speed, he then has to go up to avoid him, then this boat has broken 18.3.
whereas if we do that
Outside the zone,
line,
it's fine. He'll probably tack off anyway.
okay, so you've got to be very careful attacking inside the zone.
Yeah. Just here, I've further complicated it by having this boat here. And Green is now in a situation where he's not going to be able to bear off. What can he do?
You can call for room to tack on A.
Yeah, absolutely. He would call on yellow for room to tack, and both would have to go off and do a circle. Okay? If he gets rid of yellow, who tacks off, and he continues and squeezes in here, what happens then?
Then yellow would protest.
Yellow would protest.
Well, yellow would protest, but the green has broken a rule. Okay.
And if he does duck down, he's also got to leave room for 8 to go down as well.
Which one's 8?
Well, it depends on how good they are on turning a circle.
No, I mean, if he were able to duck this back rather than...
Yeah, if he could duck, yes, then, and because they're overlapped, he must give yellow room to come down as well. Okay? To go around the stern of the boat down here. They're still overlapped. He has to give yellow the room to get round. Okay?
But if he breaks the overlap at any point, does that...
Yeah, if the overlap's broken, that's different. If they're not overlapped, because it's an obstruction. These are right-of-way boats, so they're obstruction.
But for green and yellow, is there any...
Well, they would never agree that the overlap was broken, would they? So.
Okay.
But it's continuing, so it's the last, we always go back to the last point of certainty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainty wasn't overlap.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we've covered quite a bit then.
Oh,
You never see
great.
that happen.
Really interesting.
They all come short.
Okay, so was the first bit with the explanation, was that useful?
That was brilliant.
About port and starboard and things like that?
Yeah, that was sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not all of my slides. I lifted them out of the IJ seminar. It's Pat Healy's explanation as to why port and starboard are as they are.
And just for general information, guys, because there is so much to cover, one of the things that Chris and the other guy really need to go to is on Wednesday night, we're going to be doing something that's a bit more rather than cruising tours, perhaps.
Okay.
And we thought we'd try and cover the racing rules in a bit more detail because obviously, despite Chris's expert guidance, we can't turn into experts after an hour's worth of
No,
guidance.
there are some good resources now on the RYA website. And a year ago, they did a whole series of webinars. And there were 4 going through the Part 2 rules. And look them up because it will cover most of the stuff we've covered tonight and maybe a bit more because each one was about 45 minutes and there were 4 of them. Just going through the Part 2 rules. And they actually made a really good job of doing it. And so I can recommend that. To hot up on your rules. Or you tell club members to read it or listen to them.
It should be compulsory. It's a really tough question, but did the rules change last year?
They did, but not significantly. Nothing changed that would affect your tactics in a race. There were some cosmetic changes. There were some word changes because of the and the 50-something different languages that certain words don't translate, and so there were certain bits in and around that. Obstructions, where you may have a line of posts or buoys here, and you may not want boats to go between them or into them and out. So though you may say lead them all to port, you don't want. So you're allowed to define an area. Now, so the line between those buoys or posts is the beginning of a prohibited area. Trying to think what else has changed. Basically, very little. Oh, any language now. You don't have to shout protest in English at an international regatta. Although when I asked, I think it was the French, what's the, because they all say réclamation. What word are you using for protest now? And they said protest. So the little quiz I made up had the same thing in Chinese and Japanese on the screen, and then they got lost. They couldn't. The clever guys who knew Dutch and the knew Spanish and the knew French were smiling until they got the Chinese. But,
Brilliant.
okay.
Thank you very much, Chris. That's great.
That was a pleasure.
Good having another video as well.